Hello, good evening, each and everyone, especially the students of grade 9 of ICSE. Now, I'm just going to explain one poem. Its title is The Cold Within. This was written in 1960s. It was written by one of the famous American poets, which talks or brings out a few controversial feelings of different people in the society. And that is exactly what we are going to see now. I just would like each and every one of you to just pay some attention towards this, so that you will be able to understand this poem very clearly. The name of the poem is The Cold Within. And this poem became very famous after it appeared in countless church bulletins, websites, and even in teaching seminars also. People started taking this poem even for seminars. And this became something which was very, very important. Initially, for some time it was avoided, it was rejected by a few people. But later on, it became very popular throughout the United States of America, and gradually it gained a lot of importance in some other parts of the world also. Poem is very simple, but it has got a very powerful approach, and I want every child to listen to this poem very carefully and see what he or she can learn from this poem. I'm going to read the poem stanza by stanza along with the explanation part. Pay attention to it, my dear ones. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. Here, I just would like to first bring the importance of the title, The Cold Within. There is something else that can be taken as an opposite in meaning, which is called warm. When you just talk, otherwise when you greet people, sometimes in some occasions, a warm welcome to you all. What kind of welcome is that? A warm welcome. Warmth. Warmth talks about the pleasant atmosphere, and this one is quite opposite to this one, according to my understanding. Cold, it is something which is unpleasant. This shows something which brings out some mean feelings, unwanted feelings of human beings. Right. We can see here the cold within. Within, in the sense, of course, that is within the area, within the person's mind, or in the surroundings. This is how it is understood. Okay. Now, taking this one, 6 humans trapped by happenstance. Happenstance means coincidence, a chance that occurred. Okay. Bleak, you can just underline the words. Bleak, happenstance means coincidence or a chance, or you can also say a mishappening. And here you can take it as a chance, because by chance all people did gather. You can take it that way also. Okay, but they are all trapped here. They are trapped by chances, what we have to see here. It's not they have gathered, but they have got trapped. Trapped by what? Trapped by different feelings. In bleak and bitter cold, where in bleak means dark and bitter cold. So this can also refer to the season, and bitter coldness is there. And you cannot say it is very sweet cold. Even if it is very hot, somehow you can bear, but if it is very cold, that is when you keep searching for some warmth, and people start going for fire. They just go to lit some fire to feel the warmth, and when the warmth is there, some pleasantness can also be seen. Next one, and what is that here we find is each one possessed a stick of wood. Each one has got a stick of wood. What is this stick of wood doing? It is going to add or keep the fire going on. And this is how the story begins, or so the story is told. This is now the story begins to see one by one, as we have already seen on the top, beginning with 6 humans. Right, now we're going to start with the first person. First person is likely to be a woman, because here hers back is already given there on the second line. They are dying fire in need of logs. So what do we find here is the fire is almost dying, it is diminishing, and what it needs some fuel now. So fuel in those days, in the olden days, and even for some occasions, just like bogie here in India, what we have is the wood, and we need fire, especially when it is very cold. During the cold season, of course, we do have the fire where all people sit together in front of the fire and feel the warmth. Fine. Now, but this fire was dying, it's almost diminishing, it is almost going, and in order to keep it going, of course, they needed some fuel, which is nothing else but logs now, wooden pieces, sticks. But the first one held hers back. She kept it. She had to put it in the fire so the fire can continue, but she kept it from the fire. Why? She did not use it for fire. Why? The feeling there was for all of the faces round the fire. That means she has seen some of the faces around, and she has seen one which was black. One person, one man who was dark colored, he was black in color, and she hated him probably, and that is the reason why she kept that one, that this man should not get that warmth, right? That he should not feel this warmth, he should not be benefited by what she is doing. This was there in her mind. And what we find here is racism, racial discrimination, which is found. Now we're coming to the third stanza, through which we find the second person coming in. In this second stanza, I'm just going to see that the second stanza we have already seen. They are dying fire in need of logs, but the first one held hers back. For of the faces round the fire, she noticed one was black. We have done the explanation. I have done with the explanation part here. Now we are going to the third stanza. We find the second person. I am reading this stanza now. Listen to it again. Then we will go for an explanation. The next man, looking across the way, saw one not of his church, and could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. The words that can be underlined here, there is only one word. The rest, I think, can be understood very well by you. Here, the birch is nothing else but the plant or a tree. Now, so this man, this is the next man, the second man, who is looking across the way. He is looking in the surrounding areas, And then he saw one person who does not belong to the same church. And here the church does not have to be taken by us, that is of the same church, but humanity is one thing, but the person belongs to a different religion or a different faith or whatever, and just because that person does not belong to the same community, the person started showing some indifference towards him. And so now what happened? Could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. So he did not bring his wooden piece. He did not bring his stick to be put into fire just because of that feeling. What is that feeling? The religious feeling, the ethnic feeling, ethnicity. Or here the ethnicity is nothing else but the religion. And here in those days of the church, in the sense, of course you have different churches and there are different denominations, means groups in the churches. In every religion, of course, we do have different groups. So the same way, of course, the church also had. So people had different kinds of churches, different kinds of churches. And because the other person belonged to another denomination of the church, maybe a different church, so this man did not show any interest or courtesy or kindness towards him. So he kept his stick instead of putting it into the fire so that the fire would just go on in order to keep the warmth. So each one has got one's own discriminating feelings that kept them from showing humanity towards others. Now we are coming to the fourth stanza, where we find the third person. This is also something which is very interesting again. What is this? Here we find the social status being talked about. I am reading the fourth stanza, please listen. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? This man has got a feeling. He's already now he's already having some negative feelings against the rich people, because probably he must have felt neglected by the rich people. And the rich people, we see most of them enjoying their own benefits, not wanting the poor to get at least some benefits. And this man has got some hatred. He has developed a phobia, a hatred against the rich people because they are not helping. And he also calls them sometimes lazy. They are rich, so they do not work. They don't work hard. They already have enough and they play, or whatever the feeling is. So what does this man do? And how is he in appearance? He has got tattered clothes, and he was sitting there in the tattered clothes. Tattered means torn, worn out, rugged clothes, right? So uneven in appearance. So the third one sat in the tattered clothes. That itself shows that he is not a rich man. A shabby appearance was there. He gave his coat a hitch. That means hitch in the sense tightening. He has just made it for himself tightened. He kept them in tugs so that the coldness will not enter the body. So he was trying his own thing, trying to keep himself warm in his own method without using his stick to be put on fire. And he does not want the other man to get the benefit from this fire. Now, with this, the fire is actually diminishing. Once it goes away, what is going to happen? What's going to happen? The cold is becoming more. And here, The outside cold is something which we find because of the weather. It is very chilled atmosphere, but at the same time we also see the cold behavior amongst the people. Next, so why should his log be put to use? This is what he believes. He is trying to do his own thing instead of using his stick for the fire. So why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? Idle in the sense inactive or useless rich, because he is not useful to him. He is not helping him. So that way he has just given his feeling now. Next one, when you come to the fifth stanza, you have the fourth man coming in. Here also we find the same social status. In this we find a rich man. He was also there, seated back. I'm going to read this now, the stanza. The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. Now, the word shiftless means good for nothing, completely useless. So now what is this rich man doing here? This rich man just sat back. He was there sitting back, not wanting to join with the others there in the group. And he has got a thought of his wealth that he had already in his stores. He had some balance with him. He had worked hard probably, and he earned so much, and he has got so much of balance with him. He has got so much of property and money in store. And this man, he did not want to share anything with the one who is poor, shiftless poor, in the sense, good for nothing poor is what he considered the poor person as. There, in the previous stanza, the rich man was considered as idle, inactive and useless. And here this uselessness is something different, good for nothing, because he is not helpful. Who? The rich man is not helpful to the poor at all. He considers these people as, means the poor people as lazy. Because they are lazy, even in their minds they are not able to think properly, they are not clever, and they do, because of their laziness, they never get proper work at all, and they remain poor as they are. This is what this man considers, and just because of that, he is also not coming to share his stick to keep the fire going on. The next one is, we are going to the sixth stanza. The black man's face bespoke revenge, and the fire passed from his sight. For all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. So there is a black man coming here now. What is he doing and what is he thinking? He has got a revengeful attitude towards the white people, because the white people always hated the black people there in America. Of course, we know the Negroes were there at that time, and there was a racial discrimination shown against the black people by the whites. And so this man had the hatred against the white people over there. And as the fire passed from his sight, for all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. That means when he was just passing that way, and when he was just there with them, he did not feel like using the stick there, but instead he had a spite. That means ill feeling, which is nothing else but a retaliation. Retaliation with what? Means taking revenge with a malice. What is malice? Malice is desire to do some harm against whom you think is your enemy. So that is the thing that we find in this sixth stanza. This is the black man's revengeful attitude shown here. The word that you can underline and take the meaning of is bespoke, means showed or displayed, depicted, brought out, whatever. Next, another word is spite. Spite is nothing else but retaliation. Now we are coming to the seventh stanza. Pay attention to it, my dear children. The last man of this forlorn group did not accept for gain. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. So the last man is here. What is this man doing? This man is there amongst the sad group. What is that sad group? And why is it called a sad group? This is another sad part, that he gives to those people who gives him back. He gives only for gains. If at all he finds no gain, he will never give anything to anyone. That is how he was totally selfish. And the word that you can underline here is forlorn, one, which is sad, and the next one is not, N-O-U-G-H-T, which means nothing. So he does nothing to anyone except for a gain. So if wherever there is no gain, he will never be a part of that. And because he saw there was no gain amongst these people, from these people, he never shared his stick again. And he considered them probably that all were useless again. And now we are coming to this last stanza. And this is the conclusion, nothing else but conclusion. This is again something which is important. Let us all see. All their logs were there kept, right? Their logs held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They did not die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. So what is that here? He says, the logs held tight in death's still hands. They were all captured by death. That means all died one day. Yes. And here what he observed was, they died not because of the cold without. That means the cold which was there, which seen outside, the weather or anything else, but the cold means because of their own feelings. Sometimes it is understood very well, the people with different feelings, nervousness, they also die. And because of that, those human feelings, ill feelings, they died here. And because that they were considered, those feelings and their actions were considered as sin. And because of that, they died. This is the poem bringing out the feelings of different people across the world. And we have all such people everywhere. Read and enjoy, learn it well.